Washington football. Woo!
I wish there was a way to widen my screen.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Burgundy Zone. I am your host, Kyle, and I am joined by my two co-hosts, Michael Hall and Michael Reed. But we are joined by returning guest with video this time, Ken
There he is.
Johannesen of Riggos, Ragg. It's good to see you tonight, sir. How are you feeling?
I'm doing well, having a great day. Thanks for having me back.
And it was good that Kyle pronounced your name right. He just learned it 5 seconds ago.
The J.
I don't know how that happens.
And speaking of not knowing how it happens, the Burgundy Zone is part of Listen Frederick, a curated network of local podcasts produced in and focused on the Frederick area. Along with highlighting local talent, Listen Frederick hopes to bring local stories, voices, and personalities together to create a podcast community. Listen Frederick is part of the Manning Media family, home of Key 103 and 1069 The Eagle. You can check out more about us and other shows on the network at www.listenfrederick.com. Now, Ken, the first thing I have to ask you about is this Washington football team defense. Everyone kind of has this common consensus that the defense was really bad against the Giants, even though they had 4 sacks on Daniel Jones. Is it panic time for the defense there, Ken, or are you kind of lax and thinking that this is going to get better down the road?
I don't think it's panic time. I think maybe be a little bit concerned. But look what they did against the Los Angeles Chargers. You know, they have a high-powered offense. They have one of the best young quarterbacks in the league, and they held them to 20 points. Now, granted, they probably should have scored more, but still, they didn't. You know, Washington was in it till the very end. And if they had one more drive, they could have won that game. So I didn't push the panic button after the first game. And the last game, yeah, they gave up 29 points, but Daniel Jones has been kind of their Achilles heel in recent years. Mm-hmm. And so I don't know if that had a psychological effect or not, but the defense was really, really improved across the board. Mm-hmm. You look at like a rookie like St. Just, he had a great second game when you compare it to the first game. Yeah. And he was picked apart in that first game against the Chargers. He came back. Kendall Fuller had a very good game as well. Not perfect, but much better than the first game. He was picked apart as well against the Chargers. And he had a key stop on the final drive for the Giants, and they had to kick a field goal. If they go in for a touchdown, the game's over.
Yes.
So I'm not too concerned. I think that you look at players like John Allen, Deron Payne, they're as good as ever. Players on the edge, yeah, Montez Sweat, Chase Young off to a bit of a slow start. But I'm not pushing that panic button at this point. And Jamin Davis, hey, he was greatly improved the second game as well. So across the board, what's there to worry about? Now, we're going up against Buffalo next. So I'm going to reserve judgment and not push the panic button just yet.
Yeah, 100% agree with that. I definitely think there's 15 more games. There's definitely enough time to turn it around. And speaking of turnaround, this offense has been a big turnaround from last year's offense. Taylor Heinicke stepped in, obviously threw for over 300 yards against the Giants, targeted Terry McLaurin 14 times for 11 receptions. It seems like they have a really nice connection together. Do you think that's going to keep up, and how do you look at this offense going forward?
You know, it seems like the last few days, the Taylor Heinicke bandwagon has exploded. And understandably so. I mean, he had well over 300 yards against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the playoff game. And then he comes back in his first start and he throws for 336 yards. And he made some key plays when it counted, and he didn't panic when he threw an interception, and he was there at the end when it counted. So I'm not worried. I think the rapport that he's establishing with the receivers is off to a very good start. And I like what he said after the game. He was interviewed on NFL Network, and he was asked, should you be the starter going forward? And he didn't hesitate. He confidently said, yes, I should be the starter going forward. And I haven't seen that kind of swagger from a Washington quarterback in a long, long time. Maybe Robert Griffin III had a little bit of it in his rookie year.
Right.
But of course, injury derailed his time in Washington and his career altogether. But, you know, this is something that we haven't seen in at least a decade and probably more.
Yeah. Yeah, I completely agree. I'm really excited about Taylor Heineke. I mean, obviously, what is there not to be excited about with the way that he's played and all of his starts so far? Really, anytime he's been in a game, he's played well. Another person that has been playing well, some fans might tell you otherwise, but believe it or not, guys, Antonio Gibson is actually playing very well. I know he had the fumble week 1, but he's still on pace to rush for over 1,300 yards. I know it's been only 2 games, but he kind of faded out towards the end of the game. Scott Turner didn't really utilize him as much as he should. Washington also brought in 2 running backs to try out for the roster earlier today. What is your what do you think that means? And do you think that there's anything to be concerned about with Antonio Gibson's usage moving forward?
I think this was more about trying to get J.D. McKissick into the game more than anything.
Right.
I think that first game, I became really upset in the second half. I'm like, where's J.D. at? I haven't seen him yet.
Right.
And I think he could have made a difference in that game. It's nothing against Jarrett Patterson. He's a rookie, and he's undrafted. So, you know, I think he can be very good down the road. But you needed to get J.D. McKissick in that first game. Much more involved in the offense. And then in the second half, he basically explodes. And of course, he had the key catch down the stretch and the go-ahead touchdown at the end. Of course, they needed a field goal to win it. But what a key play that was. And I'm like, hey, this is what you needed to do in the first game. So as far as bringing in 2 guys today, I think they're just looking to put some depth on the practice squad for later in the season. I know they brought in several different players, including a kicker with a last name you probably don't want to have. Y'all can talk about that. I'll leave that one alone.
Chris Blewett.
Blewett, yeah. A former
that was my nickname in high school, by the way. That was my last name.
I don't want to know. But anyway, he went to the University of Pittsburgh, really good kicker, but that name, you know. But anyway, I digress. So I'm not reading too much into that. I think Jarrett Patterson remains, but I think you need to get McKissick more involved. I was glad to see it on Thursday night.
Yeah, and Pro Football Focus today, Ken, came out with their top 5 highest graded rookies for the offensive side of the ball and the defensive side of the ball. Washington had 2 players at number 2 for each of those lists. Jamin Davis was second for the defenders at an 89 grade, and then Sam Cosmi with a 77.1 coming in second for offense as well. Is this a telling of their production continuing to increase? How good is this to see out of Jamin and Sam with the week-to-week improvement?
I tell you what, when you draft 2 players in the first and second round, you want them to come in and have an impact. Well, game 2, that's exactly what they did. Sam Cosmi is going to be a beast in this league for a long time to come. We got a steal in the second round there. Honestly, I think he could have gone late in the first, but thank goodness we had him. Jamin Davis, a lot of people felt like we overdrafted, but you might recall during training camp in the preseason, some pundits were saying he could be a candidate for Rookie of the Year on defense. Well, after game 1, no one was saying that.
Yeah.
But hey, they're rookies, okay? They're going to make mistakes. So I wasn't too concerned about that. But when, he's another player who had a key stop in the second half that helped lead the team to a victory.
That was a huge hit.
That was a huge hit. And even if they didn't get a touchdown on that play, the Giants were a couple yards away from getting first down. That probably would have been a touchdown.
Yep.
At that point, what a key play by Jamin Davis. So I think we're going to see more of that as the season goes along. And I'm encouraged, like I said earlier, about St. Just and what he's been able to do. De'Ami Brown, what a great catch he had.
Yeah. I know.
I mean, he's 6'1". after that, I'm convinced he can easily dunk a basketball.
Oh
yeah. Definitely. That was unreal.
Yeah.
That was...
So the rookies had a rough first week, except for Mady Cosme. I think when you're going up against Joey Bosa, he's going to make anyone look ridiculous. But all in all, he had a good first game. But the rookies really stepped up in game 2. So I'm really encouraged by that.
Yeah, I just wanted to put this out there. During the game, you guys know that long ball that was thrown to Diami Brown in the end zone? He didn't see it. It was kind of like a weird interaction with the ball, if you guys can remember that. Yeah. The stadium announcer's mic wasn't off, and you could hear him in the stadium go, "What the hell?" And everyone heard it, and it was a very funny moment. Sorry, Ho.
Oh, well.
Yeah. Sticking with the defense side of the ball, the defense has given up, like we said earlier, it's not time to panic, but they've given up over 800 yards the first 2 games. A lot of people have, a lot of the fan base, I should say, has been kind of getting mad at Jack Del Rio. They want him to like bring a little more pressure, blitz a little bit more. How do you feel about Jack Del Rio's scheme so far?
I'm not concerned about it. Like I said earlier, I'm not pushing a panic button. The first couple of games, you're getting used to things. And you went up against arguably one of the best young quarterbacks in the NFL in game 1. And yeah, he shredded the defense. But I look on the inside this last game where John Allen and Daron Payne kind of plugged up that middle. Saquon Barkley had one long run, but what else did he do?
Right.
He had really no impact in that game.
He usually kills us too.
Yes, exactly. But even then, he didn't get to the end zone. Right. So I think part of that is he still has effects from his injury, lingering effects from his injury. That's understandable. But still, he was pretty much shut down. And if you recall last spring, Paul, when you asked me a question about John Allen, will he resign? Will he come back? And I started talking originally about Daron Payne, because my point was, I think those two need to be together.
Yeah.
They've been together for a long time. It's nothing against Matt Ioannidis, but I think this team is angling to keep those two players together for a long time. So finally, I get to fully answer your question.
Right. At this point, they should be common law married. They've been together forever, since Alabama, and now, I mean, that's the way that works. But I completely agree with you on the defense. Defense is a game about reading and reacting. And if you've noticed with Jack Del Rio early on, I know last season it was kind of a fluke, or week 1 against the Eagles, we dominated, but then we kind of started slow. And towards the end of the season, halfway through the season, we really started picking up. But speaking of the defense, Cam Curl is somebody that, of course, we all know what an impact he had last year. This season, you haven't been hearing his name called as much yet. I know week 1, he only played a very small percentage of the snaps. We know that he started in week 2, but do you see him getting more playing time with Landon Collins going forward? Or do you think this is kind of a thing where it's like Bobby McCain, him and Landon Collins all kind of have a similar skill set, and he's just not going to see the field as much this season?
I think it's kind of a combination of all that. I think he's going to see more playing time. He started off slow last year, and plus he was a 7th rounder. I mean, he wasn't on any of our radars, right?
Right.
So, he's playing back there in that free safety. So I think he's trying to kind of adjust to that, and plus learning Buffalo nickel, which is kind of a new thing. So I think give it a few more games before we go, saying, okay, he's a 2nd-year bust, because he's definitely not. He's truly a great player. He's a special player. And I think that this is just a simple adjustment that we'll see taking place over the next few weeks. And I think you'll see Collins, Carl, and McCain all working together in tandem much more effectively than we see now.
Yeah, and speaking of tandems, one player that Washington re-signed in the offseason, or traded for actually, was Eric Flowers. And I wanted to ask you, Ken, doesn't he seem like he's in 2019 form?
Yeah, when you don't hear your name called during the game on the offensive line, you're doing your job. We haven't heard anyone talk about Chase Roullier. He's doing outstanding. And for that matter, really, Brandon Scherf as well. It seems like Flowers has just picked up right where he left off. he seems really comfortable in this offense. I think he likes being here. When he went down to Miami, it was not a good year. He was really uncomfortable.
Right.
Of course, we know what happened up in New York, but he seems like he's really comfortable with this team, with this area, and everything about it. And I could see him signing a new contract long term, probably this upcoming off season. Probably give the team a little bit of a break, a little bit of cap relief. And I realize he's chased the cash last year. I can't blame him for that.
No, I wouldn't either.
Yeah,
but I think you could tell in his first interview back this summer, he was really glad to be here.
Yeah, no, definitely. He's definitely a key piece of this offensive line. Glad to have him back.
Arguably our best offensive lineman so far this year.
Exactly.
I was about to say, I would. That's what I would. Put him out right now.
I forget who it was on Twitter. They put out a compilation of like all of his blocks so far, and he's been pancaking.
He's alpha dogging people, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and sticking with the tandem theme here, the wide receiver core obviously took a hit with Curtis Samuel in the groin. Never really got it going. Never really got onto the field since we signed him. Really, he'll be back, so that's that. But it kind of seemed like Adam Humphrey stepped up a little bit this past game. Obviously, you talked about De'Ami Brown in that catch. Who would you like to see going forward? Maybe this Buffalo game and going forward in the rest of the season as kind of that number 2 guy opposite of Terry.
Well, you want De'Ami to be that guy. Seriously, he was almost absent that first game. Understandable, but he started to flash a little bit in the second game. So now I realize you're going up against Buffalo, and that's arguably one of the best teams in the league. They have a legit shot at going to the Super Bowl this year and possibly winning it all. Nothing against Kansas City or Baltimore or even Las Vegas, who I would right now put in there.
Wow. And well.
But but that's just a personal opinion. But they are looking pretty good. But I just think that De'Ami has a very good chance to step up in Curtis Samuel's absence. And I believe he had 3 catches for like 34 yards in that game.
On 6 targets.
That's 10 yards per average. So if he can slowly just keep building on that, and then when Curtis Samuel comes back and he can regain his form, my goodness, what a core you have. You throw in Logan Thomas, and of course Humphreys, he had 7 catches on Thursday night. Yeah, it's going to be, I think, when Curtis Samuel does finally come back, we don't know when it is yet. Yeah, the potential there is for a receiver core that's going to be very dynamic down the stretch.
Right. And sticking with the receiver core, one person who hasn't really seen the field as much, even though he made some huge plays for us last season, has been Cam Sims.
Yeah,
Cam Sims,
say that.
See, there we go. It was a perfect segue. So Cam Sims hasn't really been used much in this offense early on this season. We've seen him on special teams, but on the offensive side of the ball, you would think that he brings some much needed size, some much needed physicality, but we haven't seen him. Do you think that Cam Sims, this coaching staff is just kind of, they've seen enough from Cam Sims and they're just kind of moved on to bigger and better things? Or do you think that we could still see him down the stretch?
I guess we'll have to wait and see.
I
honestly don't have an answer to that because I'm a little bit baffled by it too. And I don't recall any local beat reporter asking about it yet. Right. And I've been kind of waiting for that. I've hinted to a couple of them, what about Cam Sims? And they said, well, he's been sitting on the bench. He hasn't been in the games that much. We've seen him on special teams, and that's about it. Right. So I think we have to wait and see what happens. If it comes down to an injury, we'll probably see him out there. We don't want any injuries to happen to this group. But I think there's just a lot of trust that this coaching staff has in Adam Humphreys especially. I think he proved it on Thursday night by making some very clutch plays down the stretch. Could Cam Sims do that down the stretch? It's questionable. Right. So I think that's right now that's their thinking. But we're going to have to wait and see and be patient about this more than anything. That's what fans are going to have to do. I'm a Cam Sims fan, big time. I really am. But we have to be patient.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, to wrap this up, Ken, I have a 2-part question for you. I'll ask you the second one after you answer the first. my first question for you is, Dustin Hopkins, a lot of people have talked about his play over the past couple weeks, and he did really well on Thursday night until the missed field goal that didn't obviously count for anything. Washington got bailed out with that. But based on that game, it's hard to kind of gauge with people, but, like, did your confidence gain, or did that miss just say it's even keel, it's normal?
When I saw that ball sailing wide right, the air deflated out of me.
I was about to throw my phone until I looked at the TV and saw the flag, and I was like, okay, my phone gets to live for another day.
Okay, you did that. I won't say exactly what I actually did, but I will say it was in anger, and it scared my cat. So I won't be doing that again anytime soon. But no, what concerned me after they got the second chance is on his second kick, it almost headed the same direction.
Yeah.
So it started to curve a little bit out. And I'm thinking it's going to hit that goalpost, but it curved just the last second. So people all of a sudden feel a little bit of comfort there. But again, that was a close kick the second time around. And it wasn't from 50, 55 yards. That was from 43 yards. It barely went inside the upright. So I'm still a little bit concerned, not overly so. So I'll keep a wary eye cast in one direction more than anything. But my goodness, he needs to really be splitting the uprights.
He does, dude. And now the last question I have for you, Ken, is regarding this game coming up on Sunday, going against the Buffalo Bills, like we just talked about. They have Super Bowl aspirations. They are, I like to call them the older brother of the Washington football team. We're trying to grow into that, of what they have there. What is your confidence level going into this game on Sunday? I know Josh Allen isn't playing his best football at the moment, but he's still one of the best quarterbacks in the league.
He can go off at any time.
Yeah, what's your confidence level with this game on Sunday?
I would say it's similar to what it was going in the first game of the season. I knew we were going up against a good quarterback in game one, and we're going up against a better quarterback in game game three. And he's probably chomping at the bit. He's probably wanting to say, I need to get going. So he could bust out at any moment. And it could be against Washington. If it does, this is potentially a blowout situation.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And I hope not. But I think the defense showed last game that they are improving. So maybe they can give them some fits. But, they have Stephon Diggs, one of the best around. Cole Beasley is like that little human net that just keeps coming at you. And I get so mad at him.
I know.
Because he's always around and he always makes plays, but that's what he does. So he could gouge Washington next Sunday. So I could see where the score could be either 45-20 in favor of Buffalo or 28-24 in favor of Buffalo. And maybe Washington has a chance at the end. So I still give Buffalo the edge, but either way, it's going to depend on how Josh Allen will play.
Right. And to add to that, it is going to be very interesting to see how we defend against Josh Allen after we went up against Justin Herbert, who's a big-armed, big mobile quarterback. Daniel Jones is a bigger mobile quarterback. He doesn't have a big arm, but he always seems to kill us. And now Josh Allen's like the boss of those two. He's just like a completely different level, unlockable character. And it'll be very interesting to see what happens with him.
Yeah. The thing that I actually like at this point is we're playing some good quarterbacks because we have some more coming up. Right. And if we can continue to improve against these good quarterbacks, the last part of the season, obviously we have 5 division games, and 2 of them are against Dak Prescott. But hopefully we can get battle tested early on and be there when it counts. Now, I have one quick theory before I go, and that is a lot of people saying that some of the players are not playing the full snaps each game so far. Well, it's only been 2 games. But I'm wondering if this staff is saving these players a bit because we're now on a 17-game schedule.
Valid point.
And look at some of the injuries that have already occurred. Now, Washington can stay relatively injury free down the stretch. That's going to be a huge advantage for them. That's just a friendly little observation.
Yeah, I
Great
like that a
point.
lot.
Yeah.
I like that a lot, Ken. And Ken, before you go, if you want to plug your social media handles so people that want to cover you and follow you can find where you are.
Which they all should, by the way.
Yes.
Ken's Twitter is amazing.
One of my favorite
Yeah.
followers.
Thank you. I
Yes.
appreciate that. No, it's Burgundy Burner, at Burgundy Burger on Twitter. Why can't I talk today?
On
I've had this
Twitter.
problem all day long. At Burgundy Burner on Twitter, and at Riggos Ragg is simply Ken Johannesen. When you go to riggosrag.com, you'll see my name there on occasional articles. I have a couple coming this week, so be on the lookout for them, and hope to see you all there.
Awesome. Of
Yes.
course, Ken, I'll be there. And I can't thank you enough for taking the time out, sir, and be able to talk football with you again. It's awesome
Yes,
to
sir.
see you remembered what you said in the
Yes.
hall. It just goes to show how intelligent you are, sir. Ken, I can't
All
thank
right.
you enough, sir. I look forward to interacting with you more and more on social media. Make sure you guys go follow
Thank you.
Ken. Have a good
Thanks,
night, sir.
gentlemen. Have a good
Thank
one,
you, Ken.
everybody.
Have a good night.
Thank
All
you.
right, everybody. We just spoke with the man, Ken. I love him, man. That's
Oh,
my
yeah.
favorite.
Ken.
We always talk on Twitter.
Yeah, Ken's one of my favorite social media follows, especially on Twitter. He's just so knowledgeable, so smart. He's always so interactive. He's a
Yeah.
good person to follow.
I'm surprised you remember what I asked him last time he was on. That was
Yeah.
over a year ago.
And usually you're not memorable, like at all.
Yeah.
Like
I wanted to make a joke so badly when
Oh,
he was
yes,
getting
you are.
when
Stop.
he was getting mush mouth. I wanted to say to him, I was like, "Dude, Hall just infected in you, dude."
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I wanted to make a terrible pun and say, "Well, I might call you later."
That's a good one. I like
No,
that
it's
one.
not. It was
Yeah.
terrible. It was not good.
But let's go with our fan question. We didn't get that much today for today's episode. Everyone's been so busy. Before we get lined up with our second guest here, but I wanted to ask a question. So Orange Crush hit me up on Twitter, right? And he wants to know about fantasy football, and I absolutely love this question from him. Because I asked, like, what are your horror stories from the weekend or glory stories from fantasy football? He said, here's a horror story. Tyreek Hill and the Chiefs last night, LOL. I got Hill on my fantasy team. Mega bust. He still might win, though. So that sucks. I know I went against somebody who had Tyreek Hill, and I
You're
don't know.
always worried going into the game, but then when you woke up this morning, you were like, "Oh shit,
You-
okay."
Yeah, you got to give credit to the Ravens. Nobody else
Dude,
has been able
Anthony
to limit
Averett?
Tyreek Hill.
All
Nobody.
right.
Yeah.
Nobody has been able to limit that Kansas City offense, but somehow they were able to get the ball out of Tyreek Hill's hands. And look, I know that Tyreek Hill went back at him on Twitter today and basically said, "We'll see you guys next time." But
So basically, next time, just expect Tyreek
In the
Hill to go
playoffs.
for like $150.
right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Right.
Now he has a question for us. Orange Crush does. Who is the most impersonal coach in football? As in, who has the most lack of feelings for their players and shows the least emotion? He wants to know in the NFL first and then college if possible, Hall. I can't hear you at all. Your mic went out, bud. What about you, Reed? Who's the most impersonable coach in the NFL?
Oh God, see, this one's hard. I'm gonna go with. I guess you kind of got to go with Joe Judge, just based off of this past offseason with Joe Judge. I mean, think about how many Giants players retired this offseason. Think about how many Giants players spoke out against Joe Judge. Their first round pick, Kadarius Toney, right now is speaking out against Joe Judge. He got into a fight 2 seasons ago with his offensive line coach. Shout out to him for that. I will never knock him for that. I think that's cool as hell, by the way. I'm sorry, cool as H, by the way. And so, yeah, I guess you kind of got to go with Joe Judge. But yeah, just because he's just so unlikable, I feel like, and that's evidenced by the fact that so many players are talking out against him, and that he's made so many different people retire in one offseason.
Yeah, I guess for the NFL, I know there's not much of a sample size, but I'll say Urban Meyer, just because of the rumors flying around with him being at USC. Obviously, he doesn't care that much about his players. That he's just been preaching about hard work, get it done, blah, blah, blah. And then you see his name being floated around going back to college a month or so later. And you know for a fact Urban Meyer had a hand in doing that.
Right.
Like, this is what he does. This is what he did at Florida after Tim Tebow left. He knew they were about to lose some games, and so he's like, I'm going to retire for my family. I need to take time away from my health. And then as soon as Ohio State opened up, he's like, oh, yeah, I'm ready to go.
It's like you're not Nick Saban, bro.
Right, but for me, it's Urban Meyer, and then for college football, I'll say Brian Kelly, Orange Crush. I cannot stand Brian Kelly. I know he is respected around, but I will never respect that guy for sending that kid up in the scissor lift on that very windy day and killing him. It just goes to show that obviously the guy does not really care for people's feelings and them. He's more
about that.
He's more concerned about product on the field, and that's not okay for me personally. But yeah, those are my two. So Urban Meyer from the NFL, and then Brian Kelly for the college.
Yeah, NFL. I'd probably go. I mean, the easy one is Bill Belichick because
right. I was gonna
notorious for cutting players early. He's notorious for just
making it hell to play with them. Even though you win, it's still
made a guy like Gronk who just loves having fun retire and then instantly come back and he's having the time of his life down in Tampa Bay, living his best life. So yeah, I would go in Bill Belichick for NFL. College, I would go.
But no, Bill cares about his players, though, man.
He cares about them, but a lot of people say that they don't like playing for him. A lot of players come out and say that it's just hell while you're there. Like, yes, you win, of course, but it's just the cost of winning is a pain in the ass when you're a grown man professional athlete.
Well, I mean, like you got to think about like with Ty Law and stuff like that. They had a very close relationship.
Well, a lot of players do, but then there's also a lot of players that don't.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to more of the lines.
I just feel like Bill is such an easy answer for that because everyone thinks that Bill is like the way he runs the team is so impersonal, but I don't think he's like that to the players. You know what I mean? If that makes sense.
Yeah, I know.
I was going more of lines like along the lines of like I said, like it's just like so hard to play there. You can't really like have fun. It's everything's you got to be like PC. But I mean, outside of that, I don't really know like any other like coach that's in NFL that like the players are kind of just like nah, like
right.
But yeah, college wise, I'd probably go.
There's so many. I feel like in college.
So many, but there's so many like likable guys in college because actually, you know what? No, because players like playing for him.
I was gonna go Lane Kiffin at first.
Yeah, literally.
Is that who you were just saying?
Gonna say Lane. That's why the players.
But then, like if he didn't have this last stint, it would 100% be Lane Kiffin.
A good one. Rich Rodriguez.
There you go. That's a good one.
When he was at West Virginia, he was such a likable guy. Everyone liked him. But it's like as soon as West Virginia started going downhill, it's like his whole mood, his whole personality, his whole persona just started going downhill with it. He went to Michigan and just didn't do well there. I'm a Michigan fan, so. Ever since then, I haven't really liked him. I know that a lot of players have spoken out saying that, I mean, you can see him on the sidelines. He's going crazy at the players, like shaking them, getting in their faces. So I can only imagine it's probably not fun playing for that guy.
I was super close to saying your boy Hall for a little bit, Harbaugh. Yeah. Just because, I mean, even though, like, look, the guy is clearly he's a very good coach. He's very talented, but he has not lived up to expectations at Michigan so far. Yeah. So, I mean, I guess that, and he's somebody else who it's kind of almost like when the going gets hard, he kind of bails almost. It seems like a lot of, to his credit, he hasn't yet at Michigan, and he's had every reason to. But
that's Urban Meyer. That's Urban Meyer to a freaking. Well, yeah,
exactly.
Bro.
That's why I'm saying you can't really even fault Harbaugh. You know,
right?
I mean.
Yeah, he wants to beat Ohio State, then he's gonna leave.
Right. Yeah, right. I wanted to ask you guys about because it's been all the rage on Twitter and on social media about the taunting calls around the NFL. The officiating altogether was putrid. I know Phil was trying to say on Twitter today that the calls were both ways on the Cowboys. And look, man, I understand. Is that the case? Yes. But the calls that the referees were missing on the Cowboys is like ticky-tack calls that happen in every game. The calls that were going against the Chargers were literally calls that never happen. You're telling me the illegal formation, when they said two guys were moving at once and they took away that touchdown from Jared Cook, only one guy was moving.
What about that sack on Justin Herbert?
That was the worst of them.
That was the dumbest call I've ever seen in my life. They said his forward progress was stopped, but he's a quarterback trying to make a play. He was getting hit. He was falling backwards and threw the ball. How are you going to call that a sack?
When it should have been third and goal on the 4-yard line, but instead it's third and goal from like the 22-yard line.
Dude, it's like they literally took away the ability for them to go for it on fourth down. Like, not only were they like, we're going to force you to kick the field goal, but we're going to push you back so you can't even think about going for it on fourth down. Exactly. Dude, that was so sketchy to me. It really was. And then all the taunting calls around the NFL, the Keenan Allen one was kind of egregious. I will say that he shouldn't have done that. Right. I will say that was kind of warranted. The other ones, though, where they just literally get up and look at the guy. Yeah, I mean, what are we doing here? Like, there's supposed to be some sort of personal competition going on.
Right.
Chris Russell, man, he's trying to like die on the hill about this. Like, it's the right one. This is the way it should be in the NFL. Well, again, you sound like the old guy. Like, get off my lawn. This is the no fun league. You can't have fun when you make a big play. Like, no.
Yeah.
This is a game of emotions.
You're getting paid millions of dollars. Don't
Right.
have fun.
Yeah,
It's like they're getting
exactly.
paid millions of dollars to play a game, though. Like
Exactly. It's a
you're
game of
supposed to have
emotions. When you're
fun
supposed to make a
playing
big play, and just
game.
get up, like, shake someone's hand. Oh, yeah.
Right.
Great play. Yes. Great
Yeah.
play. Yes. Thank you. Like, no.
Yeah.
Get up and celebrate. And just
Right.
because you look a guy down, stare a guy down, last time I checked, that's not taunting. That's just
You can't hate
ADD
people.
on a dude. Like,
Right. Yeah, you can't
better
hate
than you.
people because they found a way to get rich off of playing a game. If I could get rich off of playing Call of Duty with my best friend Logan Paulson, I would. I would do it. And I'd have fun doing it.
You would probably have fun doing it.
I would.
Do you even own an Xbox or a PlayStation?
I own an Xbox, but I'm not a big game guy anymore ever since Madden started to suck for the last 4 or 5 years. So,
That's such a good point. But one thing I wanted to talk about was this whole Taylor Heineke thing, because I was on Andy's pod on Friday, and and the DC Tweet team, and he had asked me, like, do I think Taylor is the quarterback of the future? And my only response was, I mean, for this season, definitely, without a doubt. But Taylor,
unless he comes out in tanks, right?
Yeah, Taylor has to be consistent. He's had one great start. He's got to continue this. If he does a 5-game stretch, and we can start talking about next season.
That's the thing that I keep trying to tell people. It's like, yes, obviously what he's done so far is awesome. I love it. I'm 100% behind it. But don't get so caught up in this idea that he's going to be our guy from here on out. Because remember, 2 years ago out in Carolina, Kyle Allen was the man for 6 or 7 games. He was so good, and look at him now. I mean, so you can't put too much into that. It takes a lot more than that to be the next Tony Romo. So he's got time. Oh shit, are you okay?
Every coach will tell you that, like, knows football, play football, anything like that. NFL wise, like on TV and stuff. They'll always say, even on the radio, it takes about 3 to 4 games for NFL coaches and defensive coordinators to figure out what you like to do best, what you do best, what you don't like to do best, what you hate, how you react to this type of coverage, how you react to this type of zone coverage. So we'll see going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And now we are joined, another guest that we have lined up for you guys, Mrs. Stephanie Smalls. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, ma'am. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm so happy that we were finally able to connect here.
Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry to hear about your brother, of course.
Yeah.
Sorry to hear about that. I'm glad to hear he's okay, though. But
yeah, thank God.
Stephanie, the first question I'm going to have to ask you, because we're going to dive into the fantasy kind of realm of football and also talk about the Washington and Giants games. I know you're low-key a Giants fan, right? But,
I am, yeah.
So I wanted to ask you, what is your biggest surprise in, relatively speaking, to fantasy football of the NFL so far?
Oh, gosh. As far as the Giants go, or just overall in general?
Overall.
Oh, boy. Honestly, you know who is a little bit disappointing since this is Washington? Gibson is last week. That was I'm a little upset about it. I love me some McKissick, though. He's like one of my favorite players. I like randomly. But Gibson's a little bit of a disappointment. I don't know where that comes from. Is it more Heineke is just going to be airing the ball out like crazy, which is great for all the McLaurin I have. But Gibson is actually probably one of my bigger surprises.
Wow.
Yeah, no, he's my keeper in the league that we have, and like you said, to say the least, he's been a little bit disappointing.
Mm-hmm.
But this is the Giants question. I know you guys picked up Kenny Galladay this offseason. You have Saquon coming back off the ACL. Are you surprised that they haven't really put up the fantasy numbers that they are, I guess, projected every week so far? I know it's only 2 weeks in, but
yeah. So those two I'm not surprised by. Kenny obviously did not participate a lot in the off-season stuff. As when you have a play caller that is Jason Garrett, there's going to need to be some chemistry between your quarterback and your wide receiver 1. But the beautiful thing is with the wide receiver 1, it's boosted the crap out of Sterling Shepard, who again is someone that I have every keeper league, every single league I have Sterling Shepard, and I'm in, you don't even want to know how many. And I think Saquon, you knew, like, if you went out and you drafted Saquon, I would hope that you knew that it may not be till week 5 until you see 100% Saquon, right? So I'm not totally disappointed in those two because my expectations weren't super high. I think Saquon might have a big week next week against the Falcons. I think that he needs to get his confidence back. You can tell a lot of stutter stepping, a lot of just, I don't think he's fully confident in his knee, but we did see that 40, whatever it was, yard run. So I think he's getting there. But as far as Daniel Jones and Sterling Shepard, fantastic in fantasy so far.
Right. Yeah. So keeping it with the Giants wide receivers, big story that broke this past week was Kadarius Toney, your guys' rookie first-round draft pick, kind of speaking out a little bit against the team, at least cryptically. People are piecing together. How do you feel about that? Do you think that you guys are going to get him involved? Because right now, all four of us combined have more receiving yards than Kadarius Toney does this season.
I think that Kadarius Toney, I don't know what's going on with Kadarius Toney. They came out and said it wasn't about the Giants that he was posting. I think that he's kind of just that guy. I think that we'll see through his entire career whether that remains on the Giants. I think he's always going to be this kind of like posting on Instagram, doing this, doing that. It's not entirely shocking to me. I think that they need to get him involved. You did not pick him in the first round at 20th when you have a O-line that still stinks, and there's obvious gaps to not use him. So I'm unsure why they're not getting him super involved yet. I don't know if it's that they keep forcing Darius Slayton into the playbook. My thought was that he would come in here and push Darius Slayton out. I don't know why that hasn't happened yet. Darius Slayton doesn't deserve to get the most targets. He doesn't deserve to get the second most targets. So my hope is that they find a place for him and just use him as the playmaker that he is. I think Kadarius Toney is kind of this running back in a wide receiver. Like, I don't know. He's kind of like a hybrid sort of guy. I actually thought we'd see Kadarius more in the beginning of the season than the end, kind of like picking up Saquon's slack because he is kind of that RB feel guy.
Then that would make a lot of sense. Now, the question I wanted to ask you regarding to the game on Thursday night, from a general speaking of the fan base and of yourself, how is the Giants fans reacting to the game from Thursday? Like, is this seen as like we got gypped out of this, or is it like a confidence builder kind of game because how they lost week 1 against the Broncos? Like, did they think that this was a worse? Because personally, I thought the offensive line was putrid, but after that game, I'm sitting here looking, they're not that bad. Andrew Thomas has made strides. Thought he looked great. What is the feeling with the fan base on the Giants right now?
I think that the fan base is confused why we had such a good defense and the defense is playing like trash, right? Like, I don't know what's going on, but I will say, and I don't know that everyone loved this when I tweeted it out, but like, I'm optimistic because I think the defense is fixable. I think the defense got a little bit of an ego. I think that they definitely got that shut down. I think Bradbury needs to, I don't know, wake up and figure out, like, you guys did not play the way you needed to. I think Jason Garrett called a respectable game. I don't love Jason Garrett. I'm not going to be happy until he's off the team, so it doesn't really matter. But other than fourth down, it was okay. You need to get Galladay more involved. Slayton's got to stop getting so involved, and you have to get Toney involved. Like, let's go. I think the O-line, too, to, like, your point, they actually, once Gates got moved over to left guard right before he got injured, the O-line looked really good. Like, that first quarter, I was, like, surprised because I took you guys winning. Like, I thought it would be close, like it always is. But I thought you guys would win. This is how statistics go. You're not going to be 4-0 against Daniel Jones. You guys were absolutely like going to beat us one, if not both times we play. But it was a surprising game in that sense that the defense stunk and that the O-line looked good. Like, what's going on? Pick an identity. Do you have a bad defense or a bad offense? Like, I don't understand what's going on here. But I think we saw Daniel Jones you saw his development in that game, which was crazy. Like, in the second half, if you go through and watch the film, this guy's actually going through his progression reads. Like, something clicked that game. Will it continue? I hope so. And I think a lot of that comes from the O-line, built from the trenches. Like, teams don't get this. Just like we saw Zach Wilson, right? This weekend, you need to make sure that your O-line is suitable before you bring on a rookie. I don't care if he sits the bench. I don't care when it is. You need to make sure that you are prepared to have that guy playing.
Yeah, totally agree. I was going to ask you a Daniel Jones question, but a fantasy question just popped into my head. So you brought up the rookies, and everyone kind of had Kyle Pitts as kind of that generational next tight end, like the next, Antonio Gates, Travis Kelce type of guy. So are you kind of surprised that he hasn't really been putting up the expected numbers that everyone thought he was going to be so far, fantasy-wise?
I am, but I think I'm less surprised in him than I am by the Falcons in general. Like, what are you guys doing? Like, why do you look so bad? Like, I get it. I knew your defense was going to stink, but like, what is going on? I just like don't even understand what they're doing. I don't understand why they look like that. It's just kind of a hot mess over there. And, you know, just like I think the defense for the Giants is fixable, I don't see how they're fixing it. Like, I don't know what needs to give, how they need to improve, but the Falcons just look like they look worse than I thought that they would. So maybe it's just the beginning of the year. You know, I think that they have to make sure that I think everyone also probably is going into this being like, we got to be on Pitts. But even Ridley, like, he definitely did better last week, but like the first week he obviously did not look good. So I don't know what's going on over there.
Yeah. So you're from the New York area, correct?
I'm from Connecticut.
Right. Okay. So what is the general consensus right now on Zach Wilson? Now, I have read some pretty terrible takes so far on Zach Wilson, one of which saying after week 1 that the Jets should trade Zach Wilson. I'm not going to say who wrote that. Us three have discussed it.
Yikes.
But yeah, and then he comes out and throws 4 interceptions, and he of course, we all know what happened last week. Granted, it is against Bill Belichick, but what are people kind of saying over there in the New York area? What is the consensus on Zach Wilson right now?
Yeah, New York is a horrible place to play, and I knew this was going to go over poorly, right? Like, right. I remember, like, I tweeted, like, Eli Manning literally used, like, booing is not abnormal. They used to chant, like, we want a DNA test. You wish you were Peyton. Like, they are not forgiving. Like, Eli Manning was not good the first 3 years. Dude, they were so awful to him, and then he won them a Super Bowl, and they were like, oh, we can shut up.
They chanted, we want a DNA test?
Yeah, they had signs that say, we want a DNA test. Like, you're not a Manning. Like, all the time. Like,
you might not be.
And he was not good his first. Listen, they had a reason to. Like,
yeah, right.
I get it. But I don't know what the Jets are doing. Like, again, like, everyone was so excited. Their draft, great. Their free agency, great. Like, that's all. This is all. I love it. I love that for you guys. How are you putting it together with a brand new coach there? Like, I think their mistake was not letting Sam Darnold flourish without Gase. Like, Gase was obviously holding him back. Look what he's doing on a different team, right? Look, like, he does not look like the quarterback that needs an exorcism, seeing ghosts, getting tackled that we saw last year. He looks like the Darnold that we all were very excited coming out of college. So I think, and hopefully Wilson is strong, because it's not going to get easier. And I hope that the Jets, obviously Becton, it's not a beautiful loss for them over there. But again, it's so important to just make sure you have a team that's ready. Or if you don't quite have that, you could draft a rookie QB. I don't care, but they better sit on the bench.
Right. I saw a meme that said that Zach Wilson is just Mormon Johnny Manziel. I thought that was funny.
That's hysterical.
And Zach Wilson, just like quickly, I will note that like Zach Wilson, I was not high on. Like he was not my rookie QB2 the way it was. He actually has very, very, like a lot actually similarities to Daniel Jones in the fact that he's panicky. He goes in savior mode, like, and they're very athletic.
Right.
And then on top of it, he's coming out of the system he did. It was a recipe for disaster. And I feel bad for the Jets because a lot of these fans got way too like, you don't get a new coach and a new QB and then like it's all happy-go-lucky.
Right. It can never work like that.
Right, exactly. Now, Stephanie, in one of our group chats between fellow podcasters, somebody asked a great question before the game, and that was, if you were a Giants fan, how would you view Taylor Heinicke going into this Thursday night matchup? So my question to you is, what was your thought process with Taylor Heinicke going into that game, and after the game, did that change at all?
So I have Heinicke, or now I actually started him last week in a couple of leagues. I had him on my benches. I thought your guys' silliest move this offseason was signing Fitz. You weren't getting 17 games out of him. It was not happening, period. Like, I wish you guys traded. You guys had like this beautiful team and all you needed was a freaking QB, and you're like, who knows? So I like Heinicke. Do I think that Heinicke can play 4 quarters for another 15 games? I don't know about that. I think he's going to air the ball out a lot. I think the running game is going to get hurt, which we saw. I mean, McKissick did do very well, but I like Heinicke. Am I convinced that Heinicke is a starting QB for a full season? No.
Yeah, I agree with that. I do think that eventually the Heinicke hype will eventually come back down to earth, but I mean, we got 15 more to go, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
And sticking with the quarterback, I know a lot of people coming into the season where this is a proving.
Your sound went out, Hall. Your sound went out.
I was like, crap.
It's okay. I'll start. So to finish this up, Stephanie, I have my last question for you. Then I'm going to have. Oh my goodness. Going into this game on Sunday, Josh Allen has not played up to his ability for the first 2 weeks of the season. I saw a stat today that I think Josh Allen's first season in college was a 56% completion percentage. The first year it was the same as that. Last year it jumped up to 70, and it looks like he's on 56% on that continuation right now currently. Looking at it from a Nationals perspective, and not just a Giants fan, but how do you see Washington playing in this game? Do you think it's going to be a bloodbath, or it could possibly be a battle?
I think it'll be a battle. I think that you got, I think your defense can play better than they played last week. I don't think that it was on point. I will say that, everyone's talking about maybe you guys being a little overhyped. I don't know that you're overhyped. I just don't know that you're reaching that ceiling that you have. Like, it's less about not being overhyped. It's more that you're not reaching that full ability. So I think that Josh Allen, listen, everyone's expecting second year Josh Allen. Listen, it's not happening. You're not getting second year Josh Allen, okay? I don't care. It's just not, he was not going to reach those numbers again. But I think that you guys can, there's definitely a chance that you guys end up really giving them a run for their money again. But then do the Bills come in? Do they respond to the fact that they're not playing very great? And does Heineke maybe start showing those I'm a backup quarterback stuff? And does it get a little messy? I don't know. But I think I think that game will be great.
Absolutely. And I have one last question. Is Terry McLaurin elite? Should he have been in the top 100?
Last year, no. This year, yes.
Okay.
Fair?
There you go.
Okay, that's fair. I'll take that.
Wait, and
That's
one
a
more.
cop-out. That's fine.
One more, because I have a Giants friend who says this. Is Darius Slayton better than Terry McLaurin?
What? Are they okay?
Are they okay?
I hope Darius Slayton is not even a wide receiver 2. Like, what?
Oh, that was the best answer ever.
I know. Thank you so much for that. I'm gonna use that as a soundbite to him.
That's
Oh
great.
boy, he will not like me. Trust me.
Oh well, nobody likes him. It's okay.
Stephanie, thank you so much for coming on here and giving us your advice with fantasy football, your intellect over the Giants and the Washington football team. Before you get out of here, if you want to plug your social media handles so people can find you and be able to follow your work.
Yeah, thanks guys for having me on. This was a blast. You can find me on Twitter at Steffi Smalls with 3 L's, also on TikTok, on Instagram. I work with Champions Round. We're at Champions Round on all the platforms as well. This was a blast, and good luck to you guys the rest of this year.
Thank you very much, Stephanie. I'll be trying to get you back on next time we face the Giants, if that's okay with you.
Sounds great.
Hopefully before we face the Giants so we can hear your hot takes.
Yeah. Exactly. Thank you so much, Stephanie. You have a great night. Thank you so much.
Bye.
All right, everybody.
Enjoy
We
the
just spoke
day.
with Stephanie Smalls. I was very surprised to hear that she was as high in us as she was. I thought she was going to come on here and just start hating.
No, hey, you gotta love a realist when it comes down to
energy too.
Like, yeah. Hey, she knows what she's talking about, and you hear that? Darius Slayton is not better than Terry McLaurin, Giants fan. So zippy.
Yeah,
and
and dude,
response was so great.
That was perfect.
Is he okay? And dude, I want to.
First, I thought she was talking about me. I was like, I don't know. Am I? What did I say?
Am I? No. What? Terry. I'm not Terry McLaurin. Taylor Heineke. That one stat coming out saying that he is the only quarterback in NFL history to start his first 3 games, including the playoffs, and throwing over 900 yards. I mean, that is absolutely incredible for this kid.
And the most completions through his first 3 starts. Yeah, like 91 or 94 or something like that.
Yeah, and Terry was on Grant and Danny earlier today and said, word for word, as a player, you can just tell when guys got it. And it's so crazy to hear, like, the number 1 wide receiver saying this about this cat.
Yeah. I mean, look, you want your number 1 wide receiver to have the confidence in you like that, mainly because he has to get you the ball. But secondly, look, Terry seems like a genuine guy that's not going to, like, BS around. He's going to, like, kind of like a Ron Rivera guy. He's going to just get straight to the point. He's not going to, like I said, no cut cards. So I genuinely think that he's, like, really thinks that, like, this dude, Taylor Heineke, like, could definitely be that man. Like, obviously I don't think, like, 2-3 years down the line, but, like, for this season to maybe get them to the goals that they set out in the beginning of the season, I definitely think that.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And I just love Terry so much. Just hearing him talk, everything that he has to say, it's absolutely amazing. And Taylor has the ability to get there slowly but surely, but he's got to be consistent, everybody. Let's not anoint him anything. He's got to make sure this is week in, week out. We'll see how it goes. You know what I'm saying? They got the Doug Flutie aspect, baby. I love that.
Never forget, they put Kyle Juszczyk in the top 100 over Terry McLaurin.
Yeah, doesn't make any sense whatsoever. It really doesn't.
Right. Yeah, well, hey, fullbacks are super important, today in today's day and age. Every team has one. Every team uses them, so.
Yep. All right, everybody. That's going to wrap us up for this episode. Thank you so much to Ken Johannesen from Riggos Rad for joining us. Thank you so much to Stephanie Smalls for being able to come on here and talk some fantasy football and the New York Giants and Washington football team. That was a great time. We'll be back on Friday to go in depth to break down and preview the game versus the Buffalo Bills because, man, this is going to be a difficult one, everybody. And then also wanted to give a great I heard today that the Biden administration is allowing UK fans to come over that are vaccinated in November. Happy to hear that for Burroughs, Scott Hartley, and all the boys over in the UK. I'm glad that you guys are going to be able to come watch football.
Siri, cue The Boys Are Back in Town by Thin Lizzy.
So as soon as you guys are here, man, let us know. We're going to try to link up, watch that game with y'all because it's been a long time coming, my friend. All right, everybody, I'm Kyle.
I'm Hall.
And I'm going to say a quote from the GOAT who passed away before this last podcast. R.I.P. to the great Norm Macdonald. Norm said, when I hear a guy lost a battle to cancer, that really did bother me. That's a term. It implies that he failed and that somebody else that defeated cancer is heroic and courageous, But to me, it's just kind of a draw because when you die, the cancer dies as well. So R.I.P. Norm, the GOAT, the greatest of all time. The guy get that, and unfortunately, he did pass away to cancer. So that sucks, but
it does suck.
Nobody knew that he had it. Had it for 9 years.
Yeah, and Norm's a man for doing
Chadwick Boseman. A lot of like Chadwick Boseman.
Yep, absolutely. All right,
I'm
everybody.
not comparing him to the Black Panther, but
All right, guys. We will see you guys on Friday. Have a great week watching football. Woo! Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Kyle. I just wanted to say thank you so much for watching, and if you liked what you saw, make sure you hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. That way you get notified when anything new is uploaded to the channel. Also, we just launched theburgundyzone.com. You can go there and find all of our latest news, articles, and the latest episodes that are uploaded. Again, we also have the Discord chat server, where all of our VIP folks are in, like Andy Burroughs, Scott Hartley, Sergio Martin is in there as well. Don't miss out on the Discord chat server. Go and check that out. Until next time, everybody, Washington football. Woo!